Well, welcome everyone to the September 2025 episode of the ongoing bi-monthly FR Panorama webinar series. I'm Larry Liberti, and together with my colleague Mario Alanis, as always, we'll be your hosts for today's webinar. And today we'll be looking into the concept of why are good submission and registration drivers of efficient regulatory practices. As usual, really, there's just so much to share with you and discuss. So we'll try to keep our introduction short. As you know, FR Panorama is an educational program of the RUD Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and is presented in collaboration with the USC DK Kim International Center for Regulatory Science, which together bring you the FR Path project. We are most grateful for the ongoing support provided by MSD for the FR Panorama series. You know, a well-constructed regulatory submission is at the heart of a well-managed and thoughtful regulatory assessment. Therefore, pharmaceutical companies need to be aware of the best practices associated with good submissions to ensure that their submissions are meeting the needs of the regulatory agency. Kind of makes sense, right, Mario? Yeah. When
Yes.
submissions are complete, well prepared, and comply with clearly stated regulatory requirements, these will facilitate a quality review. So submissions should be aligned with efficient criteria, such as the principles of good submission practices, as we've heard promoted by APEC, for instance. Similarly, agencies aim to optimize their registration procedures and assure their practices are closely related to the overall good review practices, for instance, that are promulgated by the World Health Organization. We know that regulators are charged with assessing complex submissions. And if those submissions are designed well, the regulator could conduct an efficient and thoughtful review. And addressing the concepts we will discuss today that form good regulatory practices are key aspects, in fact, of the maturation process that many agencies that strive to reach ML3 or ML4 or even a WLA status seek to implement. So in this session, we'll look at both sides of the coin, the good submission practices and good review practices, and how together they work to provide an effective and efficient environment to optimize the way that assessments are made. Today, our topics will be stressing the importance of both sponsors and regulatory agencies in following and promoting good registration practices.
Thank you, Larry. What an interesting and relevant topic we have today. And we also have a highly experienced and knowledgeable presenters who will allow us to better understand the increasing role of both sponsors and agencies in playing in achieving a good quality registration. We wanted to look at this from the different perspectives, and we are going to have the discussion first to set the stage. Jun Matsumoto, who is director of the Asia Training Center and International Cooperation at the PMDA of the Japanese agency, who will help us understand why are good submission and registration practices drivers of efficient regulatory processes. Then we're going to look from another point of view. We are going to have a developer's point of view. And for this purpose, we have Fini Liu, who is from the Product Development Regulation at the Asia Pacific Regional Regulatory Policy Lead at Roche in Singapore. And she will share with us her ideas and ways to achieve implementing good submission practices, practical approaches to a quality submission. Then we will hear from Xianji Lin, who's a senior reviewer of the Division of Medicinal Products at the Taiwan Food and Drug Administration, and he will share his agency's experience presentation entitled Optimizing Good Review Practices, the APEC Experience. And then we will have, as in previous sessions, we will be honored to have Ayumi Endo, who is Office Director of the Asia Training Center and International Cooperation at the PMDA, and she will add her perspective on the topics discussed above. And remember, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat and we will try to address them during the panel discussion. Over to you, Larry. Let's get started.
Okay, great, Mario. Thanks. So to get started, I'm very happy to welcome Jun Matsumoto, as you heard, who is from the PMDA, the Japanese regulatory agency. June has been a key participant in APEC training activities. And to set the stage, we've asked June to provide us with a bit of an overview of the topic and how his agency, the PMDA, approaches these concepts. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to June. And June, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jun Matsumoto from PMDA. I'm in charge of Asia Training Center and Bilateral Cooperation. First of all, I would like to thank Larry-san and Mario-san for this opportunity. Thank you. Today, I'll talk about the title shown here. This is today's agenda. And he is Pimut, the new official PMDA mascot. First, the concept of good registration management, GRM. Before going into GRM description, I'd like to explain APEC RHSC, where the concept of GRM was developed. Regulatory Harmonization Steering Committee, RHSC, works to harmonize regulations in the area of medical products in APEC member countries and regions. RHSC is a sub-working group of SCSC, Subcommittee on Standards and Conformance in APEC. In RHSC, US FDA is chair and PMDA is vice chair at present. RHSC aims to promote a more strategic, effective, and sustainable approach to pharmaceuticals and medical devices regulatory convergence. RHSC is advancing 7 projects with a particular priority of promoting regulatory harmonization. Priority Working Area, PWA. GRM is one of 7 PWAs. Champion is a leader in each PWA. Champion will develop roadmap for activities of PWA and core curriculum for training required for regulatory harmonization. In GRM PWA, MHLW PMDA of Japan and Taiwan FDA are co-champions. Center of Excellence, COE, is a facility commissioned by RHSC as a core facility to provide advanced training focus on specific area. COEs provide the training workshops to promote regulatory convergence for PWAs. There are 2 formal COEs in GRM PWA, Taiwan FDA with Regulatory Affairs Professional Society, LAPS, and Thai FDA. Let's look at the content of GRM. GRM is a concept to promote the efficient registration process of the medical products. To promote the concept, there are two guidelines that could help achieve the goal. One is good review practices, GREVP, and another is good submission practice, GSUVP. Good review practice serves as the best practices for the review authorities when conducting and managing the review. Good submission practice serves as the best practices for the applicants in the industries when submitting the dossiers. These two practices are high-level guidance on the review and submission process, and also the basis of promoting the GRM concept that could further achieve the ultimate purpose. The goal is to facilitate regulatory convergence. Good review practice is for regulators, and good submission practice is for applicants. Good review practice can help regulatory authority improve regulatory performance, and good submission practice can help applicants enhance the efficiency and quality of application and facilitate early market access of their products. You can see that they are closely related. The following is about examples of GRM activities by PMDA. Good review practice is documented best practices for aspects related to the process, format, content, and management of review. The objective of good review practice is to help regulatory authorities achieve timelines, predictability, consistency, transparency, clarity, efficiency, and high quality in both the content and management of reviews. The implementation is done through the development of review tools and running activities for reviewers. Moreover, all aspects of good review practice should be continuously evaluated and uploaded. The framework of good review practice consists of 4 elements. As for managing the review, there are 4 factors: project and quality management, SOPs, review process stages. And for conducting the review, developing and applying review strategies are discussed. Regarding the review personnel, it's crucial to develop review expertise, competencies, and critical thinking. Lastly, good communication, both inter-agency or with applicants, external key stakeholders, and even the public, can further improve the efficiency of the review process. PMDA has established the management system necessary for conducting reviews, including the review periods, review process, and related SOPs and notifications. I will showing you some example. At PMDA, review is conducted by a team that is separated by therapeutic area, not by an individual reviewer alone. The review team is typically comprised of team leader, deputy team leader, and reviewers specialized in CMC, pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, toxicology, clinical, biostatistics, and risk management. The deputy team leader performs schedule management while checking the overall review processes. Let's look at the review period. There is a standard review period of 12 months for new drugs. An approximate timeline is also established for the major events that will occur during the review. The reviewers strives to proceed with the review according to this timeline. Because this timeline is published on the website of PMDA, the applicant is aware of the timeline for review. And this helps ensure the transparency of the review process. This is the median approval time for new drugs approved by 6 regulatory authorities. At present, like FDA and EMA, PMDA has been one of the fastest review organizations in the world. Because of its established review process and timeline, PMDA maintains faster assessment. SOP detailing the necessary procedures and methods for a new drug review has been prepared by PMDA, and each reviewer must follow the SOP. Moreover, notifications are issued by Ministry of Health, MHLW. These notifications explain the procedures that the applicant needs to follow when submitting an application. These initiatives ensure that standardized review procedures are followed. PMDA offers consultations to the developers to give guidance and advice on development strategies, clinical trial protocols, and so on. A variety of consultations are available for users' convenience so that companies can request a consultation suitable for their needs. The purpose of a consultation is to solve the issue in the development and to avoid finding any critical issues after application. It will help to avoid additional studies and massive analysis, and the number of inquiries from regulatory authorities will be reduced. And thereby, it will help for shortened review period and cost reduction. PMDA's performance on drug application reviews has been dramatically improved by a series of communications through consultation. Finally, I'd like to introduce APEC activities on GRM. This slide shows the recent activities of GRM PWA. Since 2016, GRM workshop has been held by Taiwan FDA every year. From the beginning, PMDA supported that as a co-chair. In 2025, 2 workshops are held by Thai FDA and Taiwan FDA. This shows the workshop hosted by Taiwan FDA this year. The main topic was unmet medical needs. The speakers from various regulatory authorities shared regulatory systems for unmet medical needs. There were also active group discussion, such as preparation of application dossier using AI. This is take-home message. As a concept of GRM, I mentioned that good review practice and good submission practice are coordinating and improving the quality and efficiency of the screening process. And by applying the concept of good review practice, PMDA maintains fast and appropriate review. In addition, I introduced APEC activities undertaken by PMDA and Taiwan FDA, which are co-champions of GRM PWA. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Well, Jun-san, thank you very, very much for that
Thank you.
very clear presentation and a wonderful introduction to this concept, because there are several components, as you had in your one slide, that interact and coming together. They are what help in developing the efficiency and effectiveness of this process. And I liked your concept, and we can explore this a little bit more about following standard operating procedures and how those SOPs assist in optimizing things like timeliness and predictability and consistency of process. So also, thank you very much for introducing us to the PMDA mascot. I think for some of us, that's one of the first times we've seen them in public. So thank you very much, Jun-san. Remember, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comment chat, and we'll monitor that as we go along and seek to address some of those questions during the panel discussion. So let's take a look at this topic from the point of view of the pharmaceutical developer, of the applicant. And to provide this perspective, we're joined today by Finny Liu from Roche, Singapore. Finny's been active in promoting regulatory best practices throughout the region, and her observations are relevant to a global audience. You've noticed today that we've focused on a lot of the activities that have happened in the Asian region, especially those activities that have been developed and promulgated by APEC. And the reason we did that is that there's a deep body of knowledge, almost more than a decade of experience in this area, and we wanted to draw on those experiences for today's webinar. And part of that deep knowledge comes from Finny. And so Finny, we look forward to having you share your experiences with us today, and over to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to share the practical approach to a quality submission here in this webinar. I have joined this webinar many times, so it's very excited. I'm very excited to be a speaker this time. Yeah. So as we mentioned previously, good submission practice, we have a guideline for the applicant, which was developed by the Asia Partnership of the Pharmaceutical Association, APEC. And what I will share here today are actually from the core curriculum we developed for the good submission practice, which are used in the training of the GRM in the COE workshop. And the objective of good submission practice, as mentioned previously by Larry and also by Jun, is to guide the applicant in preparing high quality submission for a successful product registration. And to achieve this goal, the applicant has to focus on careful planning, clear communication, and also well-defined work process to maximize the submission quality and also the efficiency. There are 5 key principles of good submission. First of all, we have to make sure we have a strong scientific rationale and also the robust data with clarification of the benefit and risk profile. Because if we don't have a very good scientific rationale, even we submit a NDA, the registration could be rejected because maybe the efficacy and safety profile are not so good. And secondly, we have to comply to up-to-date regulatory requirement because it's very critical. As mentioned previously, the health authority also have their SOP and also the requirement. So when our dossier are submitted, they will review and check whether we have all the elements that are needed in the registration dossier. And also if the dossier contains the data that is with good quality, and the dossier is also written in good quality. Besides, to help the reviewer to be able to review the dossier in a very nice way, it's very important that we also need to make sure that our dossier is well structured with appropriate cross-referencing, so that the regulator will we will help the reviewer to find where the information from. And also, the most important thing is also we have to make sure the data in the submission dossier are reliable and also is good quality and also have the data integrity. And they should be the traceability of submission document and source data. And last but not least is effective and efficient communication. So when we talk about the planning for submission, we would strongly recommend the applicant to start planning in the early stage. Why we would like to recommend early planning? Because nowadays there are many different kind of requirement and also different review pathway. So for some countries, they also may have some country-specific requirement that we need to plan early, such as in Asia, there are a few countries where bridging study evaluation are required, and then usually they will need the local patient data to support the filing. So in that case, we need to evaluate the needs of a local patient data in the dossier. So in that case, usually we have to plan that very early. And also for some countries where the on-site GMP inspection is required, it also takes time to get a slot for the inspection. So this are some example why we need to plan early for the submission. And also, there is one thing we also need to bear in mind. Even though we have made a plan for our submission, but because there are a lot of regulatory convergence and harmonization activity ongoing, so it's very likely that the regulation may be changed during your planning period of time. So it's very important that we need to stay informed about the potential change in the regulation. And if the regulation do change, then we have to adjust our submission plan accordingly. So what do we need to do when we are making our submission plan? First of all, we need to know what are our needs in that submission. So this includes the regulatory strategy, regulatory intelligence, draft labeling, health authority meeting, CMC quality consideration, input from business partner, and also the final submission plan, and also health authority engagement plan. These are just some needs that are usually needed when we make our submission plan. But it also depends on the local situation. If a country where the regulation is quite simple, maybe you may not need all these 8 elements in your planning. So we have to see our needs and then decide what should we do for this kind of filing plan. So for example, for regulatory strategy, we have to see what do we need to take as an action to make a good strategy. So we will look at the list of activity we will need to do based on the identified needs. So for example, we mentioned about a regulatory strategy. Nowadays, there are many different kinds of review pathway. So when we make the submission plan, we will also think about which review pathway we would like to proceed for this kind of new drug. So for example, if we have a product with unmet medical needs, then if the place we are going to file the NDA has a route for a priority review or conditional approval, then we will take that into consideration. So the action we will do to make the regulatory strategy is to review regulatory requirement and guidance to see which are the better pathway we would like to do. And we also mentioned about we will get the input from the business team, because sometimes the business team may have different perspective about how fast we would like to have the product launched. So that is also something we need to take into consider. And of course, we need to review the regulatory intelligence database. This will help us to figure out and predict the successful rate of our filing. And also, it's better to also understand the competitive intelligence as well. Because if we see the review outcome from a competitor, we may also get the intelligence, what could be the potential question or issues for our own filing. And also, if we decide to have a consultation or a meeting with a health authority, then we need to put the activity that we will plan for a health authority meeting. And also, because there could be a lot of different functions involved to make the filing successful. So we usually would also consider to form a project team. And also, as June just mentioned, the health authority, they have SOP to guide the review, how to do the review. It's the same, that it's better to have a SOP and work instruction or process for the industry to guide, because rely on the human brain, usually it may not be so reliable. So it's better to have some tools and also SOP to follow. And once we have all the activity we need to do, then we can finalize the requirement and also request for document or some samples if local testing is required. And then we will finalize also the dossier structure and checklist. So to make sure that we know every activity will be completed on time, it's highly recommended to have a timeline tracker where we put all the activity that we need to do in this tracker, and also identify the responsible person, because sometimes you may get surprised that there is activity you need to do, someone need to do, but because there was no one assigned, so this could be ignored by mistake. So it's good to put the responsible person for each activity, and also the timeline for the activity. And once there is a delay in one of the activity, then we need to check whether the delay of that activity will delay the whole submission. So it's also better to make sure if we see the potential risk of delay in one activity, then we have to evaluate whether we need to take a mitigation plan to put the activity progress on track. So we talk about the planning part. So the other thing is the preparation of the submission dossier. So the submission dossier preparation includes two parts. The first part is to have the document ready for compilation. The second one is to put all the required documents together in the dossier. And to make sure the contents of the dossier are robust and also fulfill the needs of the standard, it's better to have tools such as glossary, checklist, and template, so that we will be able to have a more consistent dossier for our filing. And also, we should have a SOP to make sure we have a robust QC process to verify that the data we prepared in the dossier are all correct, and also the contents are written in a good way that are easy to understand and also are robust. And then we can have the final dossier for submission. So once we have the dossier plan ready and also the timeline tracker ready, then we will be able to identify when will we be able to submit our filing. Okay, then the last part is effective communication. it's very, very important because when we are preparing for the filing, usually we will require some documentation or some samples from different functions. So it's super important that we need to have a very good communication. And we also need to know who are the right person we have to approach, because it happens many times that if we don't communicate early, we may be late to identify a right person to communicate with. And also, when we are requesting some country-specific requirement, we also need to make sure the information are very clear, because for our colleagues working in the global team, they are super busy, and it's not easy to imagine how many email they will receive. So your request through an email is very likely that they cannot really review that very quickly. So sometimes it's also very important if you can provide some good example or make your message as clear as possible. It will also help you to get what you needed earlier. And also, it's also very important to make sure we have a good communication with the reviewer. For example, if there is a guideline that is coming not long ago, and you are not so sure about what to do, and because you have no previous experience, so that will be a good opportunity that you can check with the regulator to get it clarified. Or if you are not so sure if your study endpoint are acceptable or your study outcome are acceptable, you can also go for a consultation to get some information before the filing, so that you know better if you need to prepare more information to make the filing more successful. So the take-home message I would like to share is plan early and strategically, and also stay informed to see if there is any potential new guideline coming up, and use effective tool, and also use quality control and standard operation procedure to make sure you have all the document in good quality, and also communicate effectively. And also I would like to also highlight, because nowadays there are more and more changes in using digital technology. So this is also very important that we need to bear in mind. For example, if a country is about to implement ECTD, then we will need extra communication with our global early enough, because usually it will take time for them to prepare ECTD for a local affiliate. And also the affiliate need to communicate very well about what are the requirements for the ECTD submission. So I think these are all what I want to share today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Finny. What a wonderful overview from your point of view. You know, there are a couple of takeaway messages that I was left with. You know, first of all, this requires what you called a multi-stage approach to the submission plan. And we can talk about all of these concepts during the panel discussion. What I also was left with is this concept of tailoring your submission to the regulatory pathway. That's very important, and you learn how to do that through the communication with the agency. So let's keep those concepts in mind as we come into the panel discussion and do a little bit deeper dive with those. So once again, we have a number of questions that have come in through the comments, and we'll address those during the panel. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat.
Thank you, Larry. It has been a great presentation and very practical from Finny. But now it's time to take a closer look at what are the agency benefits from applying good registration practices. And we are happy this time to have Dr. Hsien Ji Lin from the Taiwan Food and Drug Administration. From his position as a senior reviewer and his extensive role as the APEC regulatory Harmonization Steering Committee, he has been continuously getting involved in the work on good registration management, which involved good review practices for regulatory authorities and good submission practices for industry. Welcome, Hsien. Yes. Yeah. Silence.
Okay.
Now.
Yes. Thank you, Mario, for your kind introduction. Also, thank you, Larry, for inviting me to speak in this webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Xian Yilin from Taiwan Food and Drug Administration. Today, I will share how APEC economies are working together to optimize good review practices through structured training program in the APEC and the APEC roadmap. This is a short disclaimer. The views expressed in this presentation are my personal views and are not necessarily those of PMDA. This is the outline of my presentation. I will begin by discussing why good review practices matter for APEC, then present some background about APEC good registration management roadmap and a training framework. After that, I will share some recent training outcomes and the impact on the APEC region. Finally, I will share key takeaways. Why is a good review practice important to regulatory authorities? Each country anticipates desired review outcomes from its regulatory authority. Based on WHO Good Review Practice Guideline, the extent to which an RA can achieve timeliness of the review as well as predictability, consistency, transparency, clarity, efficiency, and high quality can have a significant impact on public health. Implementation of good review practice helps to achieve these outcomes and facilitate progress towards regulatory convergence. APEC 21 economies have different levels of capacity in reviewing drug applications. We think training under APEC may provide an opportunity to optimize good review practice in participating economies. As mentioned by the first two speakers, RHC was formed in 2009 to promote regulatory harmonization. It is currently guided by the strategic framework with the vision of achieving greater regulatory convergence within the APEC economies by 2030. IHC identified priority work areas which member economies would benefit from regulatory convergence. Roadmap for each PWA were developed by PWA champions. Center of Excellence were commissioned by the RHC to deliver training in the PWA. Highlighted in green, good registration management, including good review practice and a good submission practice, is one of the 8 current IHC priority work areas. CRM priority work area is currently co-championed by Japan MHLW PMDA and TMDA. The co-champions are responsible for developing PWA roadmaps and the core curriculum. TFDA and Thai FDA are the 2 COE responsible for delivering training. We often use the cartoon to promote the concept of good registration management. The previous 2 speakers have addressed the concept of GRM and the importance of good submission practice. I will focus more on the aspects of optimizing good review practices. According to a WHO Good Review Practice Guideline, the definition of good review practice is documented best practices for any aspects related to the process, format, content, and management of a medical product review. We have developed a PWA roadmap to serve as a shared direction. The goal of this roadmap is to promote the concept of GRM and increase regulatory cooperation, convergence, and reliance among APEC economies. We initiated this roadmap in 2011. During the first 10 years, we conducted a gap analysis, developed relevant guidelines, PWA roadmap, core curriculum, and endorsed the COE to deliver training. The training began in 2016. When we conducted the surveys in 2020, we found that training was very effective in promoting implementation of good review practice and a good submission practice. After 2020, we follow similar principles to continue training with the addition of reliance and the objective of optimizing good review practice and good submission practice among participating economies. The roadmap and the core curriculum were developed based on 3 internationally recognized guidelines, including WHO Good Review Practice Guidelines, APEC IHSC Good Submission Practice Guidelines, developed by industry colleagues, and the WHO Good Reliance Practice Guidelines. The roadmap and the core curriculum was developed for each COE to follow and deliver training programs. This slide shows the element of GRM core curriculum. These elements are essentially based on different sections of good review practice and good submission practice guidelines. Our training strategy is to have regulators and industries who register at the training understand each other by learning all the elements of good review practice, good submission practice, and the elements common to both practices. The format of training includes lecture, case studies, and a group discussion. We hope the training will help regulators optimize their good review practice and help industry participants optimize their good submission practices. In addition to the core curriculum mentioned in the previous slide, I think the 10 key principles of good review are extremely useful for participating regulators to keep in mind when they conduct technical reviews of the application dossiers. These 10 key principles can be found in the WHO Good Review Practice Guidelines. This year, each COE delivered a training workshop. Thai FDA hosted a one-day virtual workshop in June. The theme was GRM in the light of reliance pathway. The objectives include strengthen capacity on good registration management and the reliance pathway, promote regulatory convergence and accelerated access to quality medicines, and share best practices among regulators, industry, and international partners. In August, my agency, TFDA, hosted a 3-day face-to-face workshop in Taipei. This year marks the 10th anniversary of GRM training in APEC. The theme was accelerated approval for drugs of medical needs. In addition, there was a session of special lectures focusing on managing and conducting the review for drug-device combination products. The objectives of this workshop were to promote the concept of GRM and optimization of good review practice and good submission practices, and explore the topics of accelerated approval and combination products. Both Thai FDA workshop and the TFDA workshop had high satisfaction rate from the participants. We believe that the training has brought some regional impacts, including supporting regulatory reliance initiatives, convergence of review standards, enhances trust between agencies, and benefits industry and the patients with faster access. Here are some key takeaways. Training in good review practices and good submission practices have provided a strategic direction to encourage good communication, optimize regulatory practices, and promote efficient regulation. Reliance may further support optimization of good review practice in achieving efficient regulation, cooperation, and regulatory convergence. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the collaborative efforts of PMDA current team members and former team members, and also with great support from APEC GRM PWS Steering Committee, COE Program Committee, and other participating institutions from regulatory authorities, industry association, and academia institution. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so we are back live. Very good. Xianye, thank you very much for that overview and that comprehensive analysis of the way that your organization and APEC and the RHSC are approaching these topics. One of the things I've learned from your presentation is obviously the importance of training, and we can talk a little bit more about that during the panel discussion. But I also like the concept that you were promoting with regard to the interaction between good submission practices, the good review practices, but also good reliance practices. And we know that reliance is playing a greater and greater role in many jurisdictions. So tying those three together, I think, are very, very important. So thanks again for highlighting some very important components, including things like the key principles from the WHO with regard to reviews, and a lot of very good information here with regard to follow-ups that our listeners can definitely use your slides for. So with that, I'd like to call all of our presenters back, and we have a few minutes for a nice panel discussion here. So I am very honored to welcome our colleague, Dr. Ayumi Endo from the PMDA. And Ayumi, as you heard, has been involved with training and international cooperation activities. And you know, we've heard a lot over the last couple of minutes with regard to these concepts of good registration practices. And Ayumi, I was wondering if you had one or two thoughts that you believe were important that have come out that perhaps you might want to reflect on for our audience. And just to see whether or not there's anything that you think that they should be taking home.
Okay, thank you, Roddy. So as the presentation from the Dr. Matsumoto, we think as a reviewer, we need a clear process for the review. So we need as a PMDA, we developed the established review pathway internally. So every time we proceed the same process for the review, and that achieves the very short timeline for the approval. So make a clear procedure and make clear timeline. That is very important. And we need to have a lot of effort to keep on that timeline. So that's very so burden for us, but we always try to keep that timeline, and that makes all the relevant people, not only regulators but also applicant and but also the patients, they can access the good new product as early as possible. So from this aspect, I think the good review product practice is very important.
Thank you, Ayumi. Those are very key concepts, and I'd like to follow up on some of those because we have had a number of questions that have come in and some comments in the chat. And thank you very much for those who have provided comments. We have comments from all over the world, from Asia, Latin America. So a couple of the comments, perhaps I'll turn it over to June first, and then Ayumi, maybe you can follow up on this because they are somewhat specific to PMDA and around the way that standard operating procedures are used within PMDA. So the two questions go hand in hand, and one is about whether or not the standard operating procedures that we've been talking about that are used by PMDA are open to the public, or are these confidential issues, confidential documents? And you know, for instance, in the United States, we have what's called the US FDA, the Manual of Policies and Procedures, that are available on a website. So the first question is, are the SOPs available to the public? So why don't we take that first, June, and then if you want to reflect on that, Ayumi.
Thank you for your question. SOPs of PMDA are unfortunately confidential internal documents and not public publication. Thank you.
Yeah. Ayumi, any other thoughts about that?
Yeah, because it's just an internal process, so we think we don't need to publish the SOPs, but we maintain that regularly, and if we need it, then we update. So we always, all the reviewers follow this SOP.
And thank you for bringing that up, because that actually is the second part of the question is, now how does your agency maintain SOPs? Are there internal discussions, internal reviews? Do you bring external experts into the conversation?
Thank you for your question. Frequency of SOP review is not fixed, and it is created or revised as required. So, next question is review process. The review process for SOP involved primary reviewers of review team, who is internal PMDA. Thank you.
That makes sense. Yeah. And maybe I'll turn it over to Xian Yi. In your agency, the SOPs that are used, how are they developed and how are they maintained? And are they available publicly?
Yeah, thank you. This is a good question. I think our situation is pretty similar to that mentioned by PMDA. For example, some review process are internal, then we don't open it to the public. But we have internal teams really discuss about whether a revision of SOP is required from time to time. So we put quite good focus on maintaining the SOP. That's my comment.
Thank you. Thank you. And Finney, you know, from your standpoint, you had brought up the concept of doing sort of regulatory intelligence and monitoring the environment to be sure that your submissions are compliant with the requirements that an agency may have. And can you talk a little bit about that in terms of, is there a way that you can identify in more detailed ways what the requirements are for a submission that go beyond what's perhaps in the publicly available information, which sometimes may not be as detailed as you'd like? And you mentioned communication and interactions with the agency, but can you give us some more experience around that?
Oh, okay, thank you. So for the regulatory intelligence part, sometimes for the health authority who are very well organized, they will share the upcoming potential change in their regulation or draft regulation for comment. That is the general part. So usually we will be able to receive that information. But of course, as you mentioned, there may be something that are not so public. And usually we learn that from the industry association because in many countries there are local industry association where the regulatory affairs professional will share their experience in some case, or maybe they follow a registration guideline and then they may experience something differently.
Yeah.
And which make them surprised. And in that case, usually we would be able to hear that from our peers in the industry because they usually would ask, have anyone encountered the same situation? Then we will deep dive to what could be the potential reason for that. And this usually is very likely to happen when there is a new guideline just implemented because it's new. So both the regulator and the industry may not be so familiar with the how to implement that. So some regulator may be more stricter and some may not. So in that case, we usually would have will request a meeting with a regulator and share with them our observation. What are the cases we have observed, and then we have a discussion with the regulator. So in this field, I have to acknowledge that the TFDA is doing a very good job. They have regular meeting with industry, so that the industry can propose the questions to TFDA, and this will also help to ensure a consistent way of review, and also can also clarify some maybe misunderstanding from the applicant part. So it will actually foster a good submission and also good review practice. Yeah, through this kind of communication.
That makes sense. And so I'd like to follow on with that because there is a question. It was directed to PMDA, but I think it's more general too, which is, how does the agency, in this case PMDA, interact with the industry? And are there specific phases at which time you go ahead and interact? So I know that different pathways have different opportunities for interactions between the agency and companies, but could you talk a little bit about the PMDA's experience in interacting with companies on specific submissions?
Okay, let me try to answer this question. So during the development phase, we have consultation services. So some sponsor ask us about the protocol of the clinical trial, and then we can discuss for the clinical trial. And during the review, after the submission of the application dossier, we also have some communication with the applicant. If we find some big issue in the review, then we have a meeting very early phase of the review. Then we share our thoughts to the applicant, and then we also ask inquiries to the applicant. Then we can discuss, and we can have enough time to discuss for that issue because we share our point at the beginning of the review. So that makes very smooth review during that period. And also, not only the beginning of the meeting, we also have the several communication with the applicant through the review process. And then it's very timely. And if we also, not only the official meeting, but also we communicate with the applicant by email or telephone or web meetings. And then we can discuss as much as possible. Then that makes very clear for both sides about the issue. Then we can complete our review.
Right. And
yeah.
maybe our regulators can talk to this a little bit. These interactions are very, very useful with the industry, but are there certain problems with submissions that you see over and over again that you think could be more easily addressed if there were more communications? Are there elements that you think, if we had a communication earlier or a different kind of communication with the industry, we wouldn't run into a particular problem with the submission? Are there more consistent or common types of issues that you find with submissions that you think the industry could address perhaps a little bit better?
At this moment, I personally don't have such
Sure.
comment, but it's sometimes we also have some chance to talk between the regulator and the industry, not only the one company, but also the industrial association. We have a regular meeting. So if there are some common issue from industry side, then they share such points to us. And then we PMDA and also the MHW discuss that point internally. Then we find some way to solve that problem. So we always improve our process from both sides. So of course, from the regulator side, also have some request to industry, and then also the industry side also discuss and try to resolve that issue.
Mm-hmm. Hsien Yi, are you? Is this sort of what your experience has been too?
Yeah, I think the communication is really important because it allows industry to understand the expectation from regulators, and also the regulators learn more about the products of the industry. So communication should be encouraged two ways in order to solve any issues, any problem. That's my comment.
Thank you. And Finney, sort of, how do you reflect on that?
Yeah, actually, I just want to add on my experience previously that when I was in Taiwan, Taiwan FDA sometimes will proactively host a workshop and inviting all the regulatory affairs professionals to join, and then they will share their observation. What are the frequent issues they observed for one particular filing or one particular requirement? And it's actually very helpful, and also not only for applicant but also for the reviewer, because if the industry are aware where they come from for those questions, then we will be able to prepare better in the future. And if there are any misunderstanding or different misalignment, then we will also have the opportunity to discuss during that kind of workshop or training. So I think the training is also very helpful, because sometimes the health authority we also use case study, and it will help us to really understand than just a theories.
Right. We had another question. It was directed to June, but I'll make this more generic. And, Finney, you had talked about different kinds of pathways and using reliance pathways and abbreviated pathways and those sorts of things. So from the industry standpoint, you have an idea of how things should be submitted. But from the regulator standpoint, do you think there's any difference in the way that good review practices are applied to products that might go through a reliance pathway or an abbreviated pathway of some sort, a conditional pathway. Do good review practices get changed in any way when there are different kinds of pathways, or are the concepts always consistent? And maybe we'll start with Jun, and then we'll go to Ayumi, and then Hsien-Yi.
Yes.
Thank you for question. I think PMDA is referred to for abridged review, but PMDA does not refer to other countries for review. So it is difficult to comment to
On
this
reliance,
question.
yep.
I think.
Sure, that's true.
Yes.
Ayumi, just with regard to maybe some of the specialized pathways that are in place at PMDA, do you think
Yeah.
that there's any difference in the way that good review practices fit into those
Yeah, I
compared to a
think
standard review?
that's the good review practice is a it's a fundamental concept, so that can apply to the any kind of the review process. So not only the standard review, but also the abbreviated or expert or the some conditional approval. Any kind of the review process, we can apply the good review concept of the good review practice. Maybe the way to apply depends on the process, but in every pathway, we need a clear procedure and clear process, timeline, SOPs. So that's common for all the process, I think.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. Well, we're coming down to the end of our session here. We do have one more question, which maybe I'll start with Hsien-Yi, and then Ayumi, maybe you can reflect on this. And it's kind of a general question of whether the RHSC is open to providing tailored training on GRM based on specific needs of a specific regulatory agency. Now, I know that we have, the annual meetings. I participated and been fortunate to join those. But are there specific training courses or training opportunities tailored to the needs of individual agencies? Has that happened, or is that planned?
Thank you for this question. I think the need of from regulatory agencies are very important, but so far there is no specific tailored training. And in the future, I think we may think about that as long, but the criteria is that we need to have enough resource and everybody can work on that. But the need is the most important for us to consider. That's my
Thank
comment.
you. Yeah, and just to remind me, are previous trainings available online? Are they recorded and available to other agencies if they wanted to go back to, let's say, last year's training in Taipei or the Thailand training?
So far, we haven't opened for other agency to use. But if any agency really have that type of need, I believe they can contact us so we can work it out.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, as always, this has been a really fun and informative session. I want to thank you all. Today we've covered a lot of ground, and we'd like to leave you with our typical recommendations. What we try to do is give you some takeaway actions that you can consider right now. And so we have several that, companies should refer to these good submission practice guidelines, and applicants, for a comprehensive understanding of the topic, be sure that you look at the appropriate guidelines and understand what the expectations are. We know that regulators might be considering optimizing practices and referring to things like the good review practices guidelines, and participating in training is very, very important. And we've heard a lot about training today and the opportunities that are available through organizations such as APEC. And I just want to remind everybody that APEC is not just Asia. You know, it spans the Americas also, and are open to other opportunities. And then thirdly, as a champion of this topic, APEC and PMDA, they contribute to activities that strengthen regional regulatory systems. And as you've heard, they are open to interactions. And if you do have questions, I'm sure our colleagues would be happy to interact with you. So remember that a recording of this session will be archived shortly on the frpath.org website. All of our sessions have been archived there over the last several years. We've had many sessions, and we're sure that you'll use these observations that you've seen today to improve your own activities. Our next webinar will be held in late October of 2025, when we'll continue this conversation with a deep dive, and we're looking into novel approaches to post-approval lifecycle management and the role that reliance is and can play in these activities. So a very, very important area. As usual, the free registration will be available at the FRPath website and through LinkedIn and email postings. So remember to check out the resources at frpath.org, where you can find lots of information about reliance and other facilitated pathways. And again, Mario and I would like to extend our very special thank you to our guests, to June, to Finny, Sin Yi, to Ayumi, for their thoughtful contributions today. So Mario and I thank you for your interest and participation. All our best until we meet again.
Thank you.
Thank you.